They ought not be laughing at that, huh?
No, Richard C. Hoagland inspired me to look into that, and I ordered some prints from NASA. And, of course, when you order pictures of the moon from NASA, it doesn't come from NASA. There's 3 separate places where they come from. And to go back to the middle 60s, when NASA really realized what was going on the moon, they had the Lunar Orbiter series. There was 5 camera ships they sent to the moon to make fabulous, detailed photographs of the moon. And when these came back, I mean, they were chock full of all these buildings and arches and domes and buildings. And, you know, there was a place at NASA where people spent their entire careers doing nothing but airbrushing this stuff out. And then they'd take a picture of that picture, and that would become the public information. That would become the picture that was sent out to the public. But every once in a while, you can order a picture, and they forgot to airbrush, or they didn't know it. And one thing they could have never imagined back in the early 60s was that in the 90s, that computer technology would make it possible that we could scan a photograph like that and, you know, enlarge it and find the airbrush marks.
Yes.
And find stuff that they didn't see, you know, looking at the print. I mean, we can go right down and see, you know, little, you know, tracks and all kinds of stuff.
So you think they're just erasing this stuff or have erased this stuff like crazy?
Oh, absolutely.
To protect us from the truth.
They just have a hard time keeping up with, you know, keeping this information from the public. I mean, you know, every time we send something to Mars, something happens, it doesn't work, it doesn't transmit everything. We sent Clementine to the moon, took all these fabulous pictures, and spun out of control. You know, I think the guys at NASA say, you know, how many times can we do this? You think the public's going to fall for this every single time? And I imagine some guy says, well, they have so far. Let's keep it up.
Well, then you've been following Richard's career to some degree.
Absolutely. What a guy.
All right. Well, like a year ago, John, he suddenly came up with these photographs of Mars. And, you know, I've done quite a bit of flying, I'm certainly not a pilot, but, you know, when you look at these photographs, these more recent ones of Mars, even I sat here and I went, oh, my God, it's like I'm looking down at a damn city, like a city. It looks like a city from the air. And buildings everywhere, square shapes that don't make any sense on Mars, from pictures that were imaged just below the surface. I don't know if you've seen those or not. Have you?
Which ones are we talking about?
They're fairly, within the year, recent pictures that were imaged kind of just below the ground, you know, with some of the ground.
Yeah, sure.
My God,
well, there's ones that are above ground that are equally fascinating.
They are.
You know, we run into the same thing with Richard as we run in with UFO people, is everyone believes their own research, but when they hear another story, oh, that guy's full of BS. And so you kind of have to do your own as you research this. Now, the last thing I came across is, have you seen the city at Tithonia?
Yes.
Okay, that's fascinating. I called up the guy at Project Red Star and I said, send me that stuff. And what's so fascinating about it is, I don't know whether you can do it today, but you used to be able to go to Malin Space Systems, download the film yourself and look at it yourself. You didn't have to go and buy a CD.
Yeah, it's incredible stuff. I mean, from the air, to me, it looks very city-like, John. That would imply a gigantic civilization that at least at one time, you know, was on Mars without question.
Yeah. Now, when Bob was working at the test site, one of the things he saw was close-up views of Cydonia. They were taken at very close range. He said that the pyramids at Cydonia, he could see doors and windows, and you know, there was no doubt that it was, you know, it was a place where somebody lived. And so he and I had occasion to drive down to L.A. to pick up his jet car. And when we were down there, we drove over to JPL, and we went to see the guy who was head of was it Voyager that went? I lost my memory. Was it Voyager 2 that went to Mars?
Well, it was Voyager. It was a Voyager.
Voyager. Okay. So we went in to see this guy who was head of Voyager Imaging, and we said, Bob has been up to, Area 51 and seen these close-up photos, but, in the photos that are released to the public, we don't see this particular photo. We said this photo that he saw was taken at a very low altitude and a specific angle. We said, was Voyager tasked to ever go lower and take pictures? And the guy said, yes, as a matter of fact, we did task it to go lower, but we didn't make any pictures. Now, here's the beauty of this thing, and this is how a cover-up works. He knew that it went lower, but he didn't have an high enough clearance, even though he was head of imaging, that picture was taken.
John, why do you think that all of this is being withheld from us, the whole thing? Why? Why are we being protected from this information? I mean, on the one hand, people call and say, "Oh, look, I could take it." The fact that Brookings was there and said people would be disturbed and all the rest of it, baloney. I want to know. So the question is, why are we not being allowed to know? Why keep it all secret?
The answer to that is in the form of, I'd like to do something with you, but we need a good 10 or 15 minutes, because what I'm going to do is say, Art Bell, the government has chosen you because of your vast experience with the public and what you think they can handle. And we've decided that we are going to either release all this information or not. But what we're going to do is tell you everything that we know, and then you decide, yay or nay.
Yeah.
And this Art Bell, it will be you. Now,
I would think I would be getting set up, John.
Really?
Big time. Set up,
okay,
big time,
when we have 10 minutes of clear time, I've written the briefing that you're going to get from the government, and then after that briefing, it comes with slides and videos. Of course, you won't be able to see them, but I'll talk you through them. And then at the end, I'll say, Art, yay or nay.
So you're going to give me a briefing, huh?
Right.
Okay, we'll do that in a few minutes. Apollo 17, or will that... Can you give us a brief? I mean, was there some mission with regard to Apollo 17 not fully public?
Yes. Apollo 17 landed in the Taurus-Littrow area, which is extremely dangerous. There's mountain peaks that go between 8,000 and 10,000 feet around the area. But what they were tasked to do on the second day was go to Nansen. And Nansen is a large, obviously constructed opening inside the South Massif, and they wanted to take a look at it. And so essentially that's been covered up, but there's a website where you can read the whole thing, see the pictures of Nansen. You get the exact what the astronauts said, and which is very, very interesting what they said. And what I'll do at the end of this broadcast, I'm going to email you about 10 or 15 websites that we're talking about, and then you can pass them on to what you like, and they can look at this Apollo 17 and Project Red Star and all the rest of them.
All of this, an Apollo mission, our space program in general, how much would have to be hidden? Now, of course, it is worth mentioning that we have not gone back to the moon, not with men, as one would have expected by now, or Mars, or anything else. It's kind of like, I don't know, it's like we're being kept home.
Right. We were told to stay away. And we were given that edict by the aliens. They said, you will not come back here. And I'm not sure which particular Apollo series it was, says, well, look, we've got these Saturn V's. It's going to be hard to tell the public. And they said, well, okay, run one or two more, and that's it. And Apollo 17 was the last one. And the excuse that NASA gave was, well, we don't have any more funding. We can't do it. And they have, the three remaining Saturn V's fueled, ready to go, and they were 18, 19, and 20.
This threat that stopped us, John, what was the or else part?
It was just or else, and since I didn't know exactly what they said, and I haven't talked to anybody who who heard the threat. It was just enough of a threat that, we don't come back here. You're not welcome.
Yeah, got it. All right, stay put.